two superpowers, one small nation, and a power plant that changed everything. While Washington thought it was business as usual in East Africa, Kenya made a move that sent shockwaves through the halls of power. A decision so bold, it redefined the entire continent's relationship with the West. This is the story of how Kenya chose its own path, and why America never saw it coming. For decades, Kenya sat on a goldmine of untapped energy. Deep beneath its volcanic landscape, geothermal power waited, enough to transform the entire nation. The United States expected to lead any major development. After all, America had been Kenya's dominant partner for years. But while Washington debated feasibility studies and long negotiations, China was watching with a different strategy. Where America offered conditions, China offered something Kenya desperately needed: speed, certainty, and respect. When Kenya's energy officials compared proposals, the choice became clear. One partner promised years of planning. The other promised construction crews on the ground tomorrow. Kenya chose tomorrow. The announcement hit Washington like a diplomatic earthquake. China would build Kenya's massive geothermal power plant at Hell's Gate and Menengai, one of the most advanced clean energy projects in Africa. Billions in investment. Thousands of engineers, cutting-edge technology, attain a timeline that seemed impossible. American officials called it betrayal. Analysts warned of China taking over Africa. But from Kenya's perspective, this wasn't about being taken over. It was about being taken seriously. Construction began almost immediately. What was once empty land became a swarm of cranes, drilling rigs, and progress. Roads were paved, power lines mapped, geothermal wells tapped with a precision Kenya had never seen before. Local residents watched in amazement. Within months, foundations were rising. For many Kenyans, it felt like their country had skipped 20 years of development overnight. As the project advanced, something remarkable happened. This wasn't just a construction site. It was a transfer of knowledge, power, and possibility. Chinese engineers worked side by side with Kenyan technicians. Young engineers fresh from university-operated machines they'd only read about in textbooks. But the real transformation happened beyond the construction fence. Markets near the site exploded with activity. Small businesses thrived. Farmers used new electricity to irrigate their land. Hospitals gained stable power for critical surgeries. Students read without kerosene lamps for the first time in their lives. For rural communities that had waited generations for electricity, hope arrived on high-voltage lines. This wasn't just about kilowatts, it was about dignity. Recognition that Kenya was worthy of major infrastructure, worthy of global investment, worthy of respect. Kenya's decision sent shockwaves far beyond its borders. Uganda held emergency energy meetings. Tanzania dispatched delegations to study the project. Ethiopia reconsidered its partnerships. Rwanda, Zambia, and others began exploring similar deals with China. The continental shift had begun. Inside the White House, advisors raised alarms. If Kenya could switch allegiances, who would follow? Intelligence reports warned that China's success went beyond energy. It had reshaped how Africa viewed global power. Some argued America had taken Africa for granted, assuming the continent would always remain within its sphere of influence. But while America debated, China built. Inauguration Day arrived like a national holiday. Thousands gathered as dignitaries stood before the massive turbines and towering steam generators. When the switch was flipped, the crowd erupted. But they weren't just celebrating electricity. They were celebrating independence. The right to choose partners based on results, not pressure. The right to move forward on their own terms. The results spoke for themselves. Industries expanded. Tech companies flourished. Kenya's GDP began rising steadily, fueled by consistent, affordable energy. Today, steam continues to rise from Kenya's geothermal plant, powering homes, factories, and dreams across the nation. For China, It's a quiet diplomatic victory, proof that its partnership model works. For America, it's a wake-up call. Influence is not guaranteed. It must be earned. But for Kenya and the African continent watching closely, it's something far more powerful. It's a declaration that Africa will no longer be defined by foreign expectations, that African nations will choose partners who respect their vision, and that they will rise fast, fearless, and on their own terms. Kenya didn't just build a power plant, it built a blueprint for a new African century. And the world will never look at the continent the same way again. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.